Metro North and Long Island Railroad Committee meeting. Susan, is there anybody from the public who wants to speak?
Yes, Chair, we have eight speakers today, 3 in person and 5 remote. The first speaker will be Bradley Brashears.
All right, good morning. I'm Bradley Brashears, Associate Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, PCAC. What an exciting time for the MTA's commuter railroads. From Penn Station access to Penn Station reconstruction and East Side access, these projects will truly transform commuter rail around our region. Long-awaited East Side access bringing the Long Island Railroad to Grand Central is getting closer to becoming reality with recently released service plans. This project will be transformative for riders looking forward to faster commutes and better connections to the East Side, and comes on the heels of Third Track, which will allow for better reverse commute and job opportunities between the city and Long Island. To be truly transformational on a regional level, extensive coordination between Long Island Railroad, Metro North, and New York City Transit is essential so that riders from Montauk to Grand Central to Passaic have smooth connections. That includes ensuring that subway connections won't be overloaded with changing ridership patterns. The long-awaited major improvements heighten the need for fare discounts with transfers to subways and buses to ensure that all riders can afford to benefit from new service options. As we celebrate the 4-year anniversary of the Atlantic Ticket Field Study that PCAC fought to make reality, and the MTA's recent fare reduction pilot programs like City Ticket, 10% off monthlies, and 20% off 20-trip tickets, these programs must be extended and expanded. The broader Freedom Ticket concept calling for reduced commuter rail fares and free transfers can be made possible by the Omni-Fare payment system, truly making it one Metro New York. But riders have questions about service changes. For some Penn-bound riders, the new service plan may feel more like a cut with fewer trains to Penn than an addition of trains to Grand Central. Riders going to Atlantic Terminal will be impacted by the long-awaited and dreaded Platform F, bringing Shuttle S service with potentially longer waits at Jamaica. This will be particularly challenging for disabled riders and people with luggage. With such significant changes proposed for Long Island Railroad service, and with increasing off-peak and weekend ridership, including 100% and 97% of pre-pandemic levels on Father's Day for Metro North and Long Island Railroad, respectively, riders deserve additional public meetings. Similar to the location-based and robust Queens and
Excuse me,
Bronx,
please try to conclude. Thank you.
Similar to the location-based and robust Queens and Bronx bus redesign public meetings, the MTA should ideally hold these public sessions as branch-by-branch meetings for more detailed information sharing and rider input. 4 meetings is a start, but more are needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Anthony.
Good morning, commuter rail meetings. Jason Anthony from Amazon Labor Union. I want to speak this month about the draft schedule regarding the Long Island Railroad service to Grand Central. As a resident that lives 2 blocks away from Atlanta Terminal, Brooklyn, this draft service disappoints me really badly, because it affects people like myself, because it doesn't provide the level of service to Atlanta Terminal, Brooklyn, but it provides additional service to Grand Central. In addition, it doesn't provide the level of service to and from Penn Station. In addition, the 4th of July weekend is coming up. So I want President Catherine Rinaldi to consider the following. 1, provide Long Island Railroad trains to and from Hunters Point Avenue. And here's why. Hunters Point Avenue is an underutilized station. And it's only utilized during peak hours. Because since then we have the 4th of July Macy's Spectacular, and we're gonna have overcrowding, like always, on the 7 train. So we should consider having Long Island Railroad service to and from Hunters Point Avenue, and additional trains to and from Grand Central. So that will be all my comments this month. I'll see you guys in transit.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jack Nierenberg.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Jack Nierenberg. I'm the Vice President of Communications and Community Outreach at Passengers United. I'm also a rail buff and a frequent rider of the Long Island Railroad Ronkonkoma line. And while I am very excited for the East Side access and, in turn, the long-awaited increase in service on the main line, the new timetables are simply a mess as they are right now. And there are serious modifications that I really want to see. And of course, I would be going on all day if I was going to list them all. But there are 4 key improvements for the schedule on the Ronkonkoma line, including the peak PM train to Greenport needs to be shifted back. Right now, it's at 5:41. It cannot be at 5:04. 5:04 is way too early for all these customers who need to get to Greenport or anywhere on the Greenport line, myself included, and then becoming stranded after missing the last train. Secondly, the trains that are going to Brentwood, extend them to Ronkonkoma. They're already deadheading there, so why not provide more options for Penn Station customers? Number 3, extend at least one of the trains during the rush hour period going eastbound and make that a flyer service. Babylon has so many flyers. Ronkonkoma is losing all of them. The train that I take, the 522 from Penn, is working just fine. So why get rid of that? And also, we need service from Brooklyn to Ronkonkoma. The 4:34 and the 6:04 p.m. trains are running just fine. So why get rid of these connections that everyday riders use? And otherwise, I'm really glad that the main line is getting this increase in service that I really desperately needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andy Pollock.
Good morning, Kathy, and good morning, members of the Commuter Rail Committee. So let me put my camera on. That's better. Okay, so a couple of matters that we're going to discuss for this month. Number 1, I quickly want to talk about Penn Station. Last week on Monday, I was using the restroom at the 7th Avenue concourse, and guess what? The men's hand dryers are not working again. I don't know what's going on with that because I spoke to an environmental services worker, and he also told me the women's restroom hand dryers were not working either. So I don't know what's going on with the electrical issues because of the construction, but that needs to be addressed immediately. Okay, let's talk about Grand Central Madison. Now, regarding GCM, as everybody's calling it now, first of all, regarding the Port Washington branch, I'm glad the 217 train from Penn Station will not be touched. However, the 1028 departure from Auburndale is going to go to Grand Central. So that's going to be interesting. And the main thing I want to talk about, I am not happy with the schedule to Brooklyn. You guys are basically now going to eliminate direct service on the Hempstead and the Far Rockaway line for peak trains in the morning and afternoon. The term change at Jamaica is literally going to be a change. That term's going to literally mean all the time you're going to have to change at Jamaica. There are a lot of people who work in downtown Brooklyn. You're basically making it inconvenient for them. So please reevaluate the peak schedule for the AM and PM to Atlantic Terminal, especially on the Hempstead and Far Rockaway lines. So I'm going to conclude my comments. Thank you very much. Everybody, please have a safe July 4th. Take care.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Murray Bowden.
I'm a little short, can't reach you. For those of you who are new, my name is Murray Bowden. The thing I'm most concerned about is global warming. I've been coming here and speaking at the Metro-North meeting since Ed Vrooman was head of this. There are a number of issues going on. Some of you are new, and it's about time we had somebody who's going to obey the law. This is about safety. When they put flashing red lights at railroad crossings, that's because they didn't have traffic lights. Now in Danbury, you have both together. It's confusing for the driver. Why don't we change? Because we've always done it that way. 100 years ago, there were no railroad platforms. They blew the train horn so that people would get out of the tracks. Now we blow the train horn because we blew it 100 years ago. We can't stop. You have at every station, you tell me when the next train is coming. You got a public address system at every station. When you blow the train horn half a mile down a road for a train going 60 miles an hour, who's it protecting? Don't you think it's about time you dealt with the world as it is? It's not going away. Global warming is going to affect every one of us. And unless you stop doing the things that are been there for 100 years, my grandchildren are going to have a tough world. It's tough now. Now, I've said this any number of times. Then you have yes, I know. Then you have Amtrak. Amtrak's been doing it the same way.
Mr. Bowden, please.
Yes, there are 2 committee
Conclude your
meetings. I'm
remarks.
on a second committee meeting.
If you're now addressing the second committee, then we can start the count again.
Certainly, I expect to. Hey, I've been doing this so long, I know the way it works. We have new people here, have to learn the new rules, and fortunately, we have new people, because people who've been here too long can't change. And it's time we had some change. There's no reason for Amtrak to blow the whistle for a train going 60 miles an hour. And if you can't talk to Kosia, he's from around here, you know him, you all know him. How long are you going to keep doing the same silly things you've been doing for 100 years that were appropriate 100 years ago, but not today? I'm losing my mind. I have got early dementia. I don't know how much longer I'll be here. It's not funny. I want to leave a world where my grandchildren and your children and grandchildren will be able to live in a fairly decent life. Everybody's changing their cars to electric for one simple reason: pollution. We're polluting the planet. We've reached the end of growth. There will be no more growth. You can't grow it because the planet's deteriorating. You had a good lesson this weekend on how outdated issues have been brought to the fore again. Don't believe anything I say. Check it out yourself. There's absolutely no reason for you to believe me, but you can do your own research.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andy Quito, and we had a late addition, so it'll be a total of 9 speakers today.
Wow, that was strange what the other speaker said. And my name is Andy Quito. I know I'm not feeling well. Just came back from Pride. Had a little headache, but let's talk about what happened last night. Because I know Jack, Charlton, Andy probably don't care, but there was overcrowded situation on the railroad. I got on the Babylon train, transferred from the Hempstead train at Hollis, going westbound towards Penn Station. It was so packed that I couldn't even fit. Like, I almost passed out. You know, they don't give a damn, you know. But yeah, let's talk about what the situation with John Mitchell and Mineola. I'm not sure any update about any police response to making arrests. They've been taking pictures of women. Same thing's going on in Jamaica. No, stereotyping the people going down there. But yeah, let's talk about the LIRR expansion to Grand Central. They need to fix up a little. Oh, sorry, it's me. Yeah. I just woke up with a little headache. But yeah, let's talk about what happened at Pride. Yeah, Jack, Charlton, Andy Pollock don't care, but the trains were overcrowded. There was no extra service being provided, and nobody gives a damn about it. And let's talk about the situation with John Mitchell. I have not heard anything about any arrests right now. This guy is getting out of control at that train station, and nobody doesn't give a damn. Same thing's going on in Jamaica with people selling drugs, and yet nobody gives a damn about it. And we should be evenly cut, even all the lines should be getting evenly Babylon trains, and Ron Congress should be getting the same amount of flyers. I don't know what the other guy's talking about. We don't want to see no overcrowded situation at any other branch line.
Please conclude
But
your remarks.
I am looking forward for the expansion to Grand Central Terminal. But please, you guys need to do better on providing extra service and keeping people in Mineola and Jamaica safe from this lunatic right here, because it's getting out of control. It really is. It's getting out of control.
I'm sorry, please conclude your remarks. Our next speaker is Andrew Sparberg.
Good morning, members of the Commuter Rail Committee. My name is Andrew Sparberg. I am a retired Long Island Railroad manager, a longtime Nassau County resident, and I'm currently a transportation historian and an adjunct instructor at CUNY. I want to address two issues connected to the expected opening of the East Side Access Service later this year. First, I respectfully request that the railroad resume issuance of the old-style paper branch timetables, which was the case before the pandemic. I'm quite capable of looking up my schedule on an electronic device, but I still prefer to carry the old-style branch timetables. With the Grand Central Madison service beginning later this year, it will be very convenient to carry a traditional timetable with the new services documented. And these timetables will also give the railroad and the MTA an opportunity to provide information to people who do not carry a smartphone. Now, New Jersey Transit continues to issue paper timetables as they've done in the past, just as a point of information. Second, I want to address the issue of train service between Long Island and Atlantic Terminal in Brooklyn, because I feel that forcing most Brooklyn passengers to transfer to and from shuttle trains at Jamaica is not a particularly good idea, especially in the rush hours. The new setup is physically cumbersome and more time-consuming than the current mode of cross-platform transfers. The up and over movement to and from Platform F is a burden for senior citizens, of which I am one. I'm still pretty spry, but I don't move as fast as I used to. I am not suggesting that the Jamaica-Brooklyn shuttles be scrapped, but I am suggesting that more through rush hour service between Atlantic Terminal and points east should be provided, particularly from the Babylon, Port Jefferson, and Ronkonkoma branches. In my 44 years of riding the railroad as an employee, as a commuter, and now as a retiree, it's shown me that riders prefer a one-seat ride between their branch and their western terminal without a change at Jamaica. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm ecstatic about the new
Excuse me, please conclude your remarks.
Sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm ecstatic about the new Grand Central service. It'll give me a one-seat ride to my current part-time employment site on 43rd Street near Fifth Avenue. In 1968, when the MTA announced plans for an East Midtown Long Island Railroad terminal, I was a junior in college. Now I'm a retiree and a grandparent. It took 54 years for the Long Island Railroad to reach Grand Central, but it will be worth the wait. But please consider the needs of the current Brooklyn ridership as well. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good day.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alita Dupree.
Thank you. Good morning to the chair. Alita Dupree for the record. My pronouns are she and her. Need a clock here so I can end in time. Thank you. So I'm going to talk about railroad today. I'm following Grand Central Madison. And I'd like to see a report of what the elevators are going to look like, because I may need to use them. I know we're going to have 17 escalators, and I hear some of them are quite long. So elevators are very helpful in case I'm just not feeling up to it. Some people have to use them. So I think we need to talk more about the elevators. And in reading the ridership reports, it looks like we're doing better. We're up to 2/3 of pre-pandemic ridership on these railroads. So got to ask, how can we get more people back, get to 100%? Gas is very expensive nationwide, which brings me also to our continued use of petroleum diesel fuel on the railroads. And as I've mentioned before, about seeing trains starting diesels in electrified territory. And diesel is expensive, and I presume that not all of it is hedged, and the hedges are going to run out eventually. So we got to think about some way to get around that. Maybe buy some of that renewable diesel fuel like Metrolink does in Southern California. But hopefully we can be an all-electric railroad someday, like BART in the Bay Area. I go to their meetings too, and I use their system. So I hope to be back in New York maybe by next month and see you at a meeting. And you can never have enough Grand Central Terminal. Can't stop thinking about it. Have my background up. Answers await those questions. So I look forward to your discussion today and your answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Charlton D'Souza.
Good morning, everyone. Charlton D'Souza, president of Passengers United. Guys, I am not happy with the Long Island Railroad schedules. What I feel needs to be done is more service needs to be given to Hempstead and Queens Village, especially, during the midday and late night hours, and that needs to be worked out. Now, in terms of the Brooklyn Scoot shuttle that you guys are planning, why not just turn that into a subway and put MetroCard machines like this? Everyone can benefit from the new Atlantic terminal branch. That's going to have to be done, because if you want people to pay so much money, and that should be in zone 3, it shouldn't be in zone 1, because if you're going to make people get off a train and then walk all the way down and then have to go back downstairs, that's going to be an inconvenience for people. So maybe that should be looked at as well. Now, in terms of yesterday with Pride Parade, the trains were very crowded. That is unacceptable for the main line. You guys have to do better. But I've been getting complaints about mainline service, and that has to be improved. Especially with the shuttle buses in Mineola, I'm not too pleased about that. And going back to the NICE bus, NICE runs the shuttle bus for you guys, but the problem is having people go to the N24 is, not good enough. You need more service running. The LIRR needs to have, make sure that they have their own shuttle buses. And also in terms of the big J train cross-honoring that's happening starting on Friday night or on Saturday, you guys need to make sure that all the conductors know there's cross-honoring going on with the Metro cards, at the Southeast Queen stations, so that there's no inconvenience to the riders. And as far as Metro North, I'm hoping that Metro North will finally get one ticket to go from Grand Central to New London on Shoreline East. There's some issues when you use the vending machine getting the Shoreline East ticket from Grand Central. You have to go to the ticket window to get it done. So please fix that, so that'll be great for your customers. Otherwise, Hector's doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public speaker session. I just want to note for the committee that there is no quorum today.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, speakers. We will approve the minutes of this committee on Wednesday, our full meeting. Right now, President Rinaldi is going to report on the work plan.
Thank you. There are no changes to the Metro North work plan, but there is a change to the Long Island Railroad work plan. In order to In order to align the reports out on the Metro North and Long Island Railroad strategic plans, we're going to be amending the Long Island Work Plan to have an update on Long Island Railroad Forward at the November committee meeting, to coincide with the next way ahead update.
And now we're going to move to the agency reports, also from President Rinaldi.
Great, thank you so much. So I'm going to start, as we've been doing the past couple months, with an update on ridership. I'm again pleased to announce that both the Long Island Railroad and Metro North set pandemic-era records on Tuesday, June 14th. Long Island Railroad carried 191,197 riders, or 66% of our pre-pandemic ridership measured against the baseline, which surpassed the previous pandemic-era record of 187,000 and change that had been set on June 10th. Metro North carried 174,340 riders on that day, which was 67% of pre-pandemic ridership, again surpassing a previous record that had been set on May 24th. These weekday records follow a strong weekend for both commuter railroads. On Saturday, June 11th, which was the day of the Belmont Stakes, Long Island became the first MTA public transportation agency to surpass its baseline pre-pandemic levels. That day, we carried approximately almost 118,000 riders, 105% of the pre-pandemic baseline. Metro North on that day enjoyed similar success, carrying approximately 95,100 riders, about 99% of the pre-pandemic baseline. Since our Breakneck Ridge station reopened at the end of May, Metro North has carried 90% of its pre-pandemic ridership on back-to-back weekends. And actually, I've got breaking news, which is the weekend ridership from Metro North just this past weekend. Our Saturday calculated ridership exceeded 100,000 for the first time since before COVID, with more than 102,000 riders, which is 6.2% above our baseline. Sunday's calculated ridership was also a new COVID-era high with almost 100,000 riders, which is 23.3% higher than our baseline. It's grown, weekend ridership on Metro North has grown every weekend in June. This past weekend is up more than 21% from the first weekend in June. So this is all good news. So I'm thrilled to see this. This shows that while leisure travel has been very strong throughout the pandemic, really the markets across the board, both on the leisure side and the office side, are really regaining strength. With our fare discounts, city ticket expansion, and really nice weather the past couple weekends, both railroads anticipate setting more records in the near future. So a deeper dive on both railroads with respect to ridership, and now it's a little bit out of order since I gave the good news first, but in any event, Tuesday, June 14th, as I indicated, was a new high ridership day. Sunday, June 19th, until this past weekend, was a COVID-era record. I'm just going to skip all this because it's been overtaken by events. Okay, let's go to Long Island. Okay, Long Island ridership. Long Island experienced a new ridership record last week, reaching the highest level of weekly ridership this year. The average weekday ridership last week was over 187,000 customers, which is compared to 180,000 the week before, representing a 3.8% increase over the course of 1 week. All weekdays last week were above the same days of the prior week, while 3 weekdays exceeded 190,000, marking new daily records, with Wednesday the 15th reaching the highest daily ridership year to date. Long Island Railroad experienced increased ridership on this the Sunday previous Sunday. Sunday reached record ridership. Long Island Railroad Saturday ridership was 106,091 customers, marking the second highest level year to date. Again, we're seeing great growth week over week. Okay. Now we're going to ping pong back to Metro North. We're going to talk a little bit about Metro North's performance as well as upcoming maintenance work. If you look at Metro North's performance for the month of May, east of Hudson service operated above the annual 94% OTP goal at 96.5%. Year-to-date performance is above goal at 97.5%. There were 5 major incidents in the month of May, which resulted in 163 delays. On May 4th, there was a trespasser strike in the vicinity of Coscob Bridge on the New Haven line, which resulted in 57 delays. On May 12th, a track circuit issue between Grand Central and Harlem 125th Street resulted in 51 delays. May 18th, police activity at Harlem 125th Street resulted in 18 delays. On May 22nd, there was a catenary issue between CP 217 and 223 on the New Haven line, which resulted in 25 delays. And on the 29th, there was a trespasser strike in the vicinity of Pirate Canoe Crossing just south of Poughkeepsie on the Hudson line, which resulted in 12 delays. West of Hudson service operated above the annual 94% OTP goal at 94.8%. Year-to-date performance is still slightly below goal at 93.8%. Fleet availability was at 100% consensus compliance for the month, which is above our goal of 99%. On the maintenance side, thus far, MW forces have installed 13,741 ties, 8.4 miles of rail, have resurfaced 33 miles of track, replaced 11 switches, and welded 460 rail joints. Crews continue with the switch replacement at one of our critical interlockings on the Harlem line between Crestwood and Scarsdale, which actually resulted in a special schedule over this past weekend and today to facilitate this project. Weekend schedules were not affected by the track work. The switch replacement project requires us to operate all trains on a single track past the worksite north of Crestwood, which is similar to highway projects, which require a reduction in travel lanes. Schedules were adjusted so that trains pass each other on multiple track areas on either side of the worksite. In addition, the project to replace obsolete miter rails with new thick web miter rails, on the Saugatuck River movable bridge in Westport also continues. Bouncing back to Long Island. On-time performance for the month of May at Long Island closed at 96.3%, which is also above the monthly goal of 94.0%. 2022 year-to-date OTP is 96.2%, which is an increase of 0.1 percentage points as compared to the same period last year. 11 out of the 11 branches on the Long Island Railroad operated at or above goal for the month of May, as well as year-to-date. And 100% of the trains met established consensus compliance requirements for peak periods during the month of May. There were 4 incidents on the Long Island Railroad that resulted in 10 or more later canceled or terminated trains, the most significant of which was a track condition between Great Neck and Port Washington on the 21st of May. This incident affected 20 trains, delayed our customers an average of 6.5 minutes, reducing our monthly OTP by 0.1%. With respect to the Long Island Railroad track work program, on the weekend of July 9th and 10th, the track department will be installing approximately 2,350 ties on Mainline 3 between 31W and 13E and Nassau 1 to Mineola Station. This is going to require a mainline double track outage. On the Montauk branch, Monday, July 11th through Thursday, July 14th, there'll be an outage, which is a joint maintenance effort between track and signal, replacing the head sticks in all 4 switch machines and Rocky interlocking. This will require a single track outage. On the Atlantic branch, the concrete tie program on the 16th and 17th and the 23rd and 24th of July will upgrade approximately 2.2 miles of wood cross ties to concrete ties from the east end of Laurelton Station to approximately 1 mile west of Locust Manor Station. A total of 6,000 ties and 24,000 linear feet of rail will be replaced over the course of the 2 weekends, requiring double track outages. Finally, on the weekend of July 16th, 17th, an outage for the signal system cutover of New Park interlocking will take place. On the weekend of 23rd and the 24th, switch installation for New Park 2 will take place, and this will also require double track outages. Now, the news portion of our program. Long Island had a lot of news this month, so we're going to start with Long Island this month. On June 9th, the governor and New Jersey Transit Governor Phil Murphy announced that MTA, in partnership with Amtrak and New Jersey Transit, is requesting proposals from architecture and engineering firms to guide the Penn Station reconstruction effort outlined in the Penn Station Master Plan study. This plan calls for the transformation of Penn Station into a modern, spacious, light-filled facility that is easy to navigate, while also revitalizing surrounding neighborhoods to prioritize the public realm social services, invest in affordable housing, increase transit access and shared streets, and create a pedestrian-friendly streetscape. Penn Reconstruction will modernize the concourse experience for passengers with improved platform connectivity, streamlined wayfinding, and enhanced amenities. Future expansion of Penn Station will add track and platform capacity and be fully integrated with the reconstructed Penn Station. The current Penn Station, the Western Hemisphere's busiest transit hub, serves more passengers than LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark airports combined. Amtrak's operation in the new Moynihan Train Hall provides an opportunity to overhaul Penn Station, eliminating the bulk of the first subterranean level to open up the main concourse to natural light, improving retail and other user amenities, increasing safety and security, significantly expanding passenger circulation areas, expanding entrances and exits, and making it easier for passengers to navigate within the station and connect with their destinations beyond. In addition, on May 31st, the governor announced that the 700,000 square foot Long Island Railroad terminal, nearing completion below Grand Central Terminal and Madison Avenue, will be named Grand Central Madison. We've been talking about this morning. This new name harkens to the station's location nestled under Grand Central Terminal and the famed Madison Avenue corridor. Long Island Railroad train service to the new terminal, representing the largest expansion of Long Island Railroad service in the 112 years since the original Penn Station and the East River tunnels opened on September 8, 1910, remains on pace to begin before the end of this year. We're releasing draft timetables. We've already released the draft timetables showing the new service in advance of the public information sessions. The opening of Grand Central Madison, along with the new third track on the Long Island Railroad main line, which is scheduled to open also later this year, will allow the Long Island Railroad to increase service system-wide by a staggering 40% on morning peak service and dramatically increased reverse peak service. It will be the first Long Island Railroad entry point into Manhattan that is not shared with other railroads, meaning greater flexibility because of less exposure to service disruptions and more flexibility for trains and riders to work around any disruptions that do occur. The project will reduce passenger congestion at Penn Station, affording the chance for trains from Metro-North Railroad to enter later this decade. The new terminal will move, as we've been discussing this morning, some Long Island Railroad trains to the east side, reducing congestion at Penn, and allow for a complete reconstruction to open it up to natural light. The new terminal has 8 tracks and 4 platforms on 2 new levels below the existing lower level of Grand Central Terminal, all designed with passive wayfinding to help orient returning users through subtle color shifts by location. All tracks and platforms are fully separated from Metro-North Railroad, ensuring that neither railroad causes delays to the other. As we've been discussing a bit this morning, on June 2nd, the Long Island Railroad released draft timetables for every Long Island Railroad branch showing proposed system-wide service following the opening of Long Island Railroad's Grand Central Madison Terminal. We are in the process of holding a series of virtual public information sessions to gather public input on the timetables. Our service planners have used this opportunity to take a completely fresh look at the schedule, something that has not been done in more than 30 years. Constraints that have long stifled Long Island Railroad capacity are being lifted thanks to a near doubling of track capacity to Manhattan, the third track, and the opening of Grand Central Madison. The timetables will improve the spacing of trains on many branches, reducing large gaps in service. During the off-peak hours of middays, evenings, and weekends, Huntington and Ronkonkoma will both have service to Manhattan every 30 minutes, with weekend Ronkonkoma branch service doubling with the completion of the double-track project, which introduced 13 miles of a brand-new second track between Farmingdale and Ronkonkoma, as well as the mainline expansion project. Manhattan-bound customers at rush hour on most branches and all day on the busiest branches will find plenty of options to take them to the terminal of their choosing without the need to change trains. For those who do need to transfer, all trains will now make station stops at Jamaica to reduce wait times. Once the schedules are finalized in the fall, the train time app will be updated to provide transfer recommendations. As we've been discussing this morning, and as we've heard from many of the public speakers, there are significant changes to Brooklyn service. Trains will run approximately every 12 minutes in both directions during peak hours and every 20 minutes during off-peak hours for an overall 20% increase in daily trains. Every train will make stops at Nostrand Avenue in East New York. Most Brooklyn trains will originate and terminate at Jamaica using the new Platform F, but we will retain some through service with peak and off-peak trains on the West Hempstead branch and peak trains on the Babylon and Hempstead branches. Most customers on the Far Rockaway and Hempstead branches, whose trains currently primarily serve Brooklyn, will now have direct service to Manhattan all day. As I just noted, we're in the process of holding 3 virtual information sessions where staff will offer presentations about the new timetables. We held our first one last Thursday, the 23rd. There's an additional one this Thursday from 6 to 7, this June 30th, as well as Thursday, July 7th from 6 to 7. Following these information sessions, there will be a virtual public meeting where the public will have the opportunity to offer comments on these timetables on July 13th, which is a Wednesday, from 6 to 8 p.m. On June 17th, we introduced an online trip planner to allow Long Island Railroad customers to plan trips to and from Grand Central Madison, Penn Station, Atlantic Terminal, or any other Long Island Railroad stations once Grand Central Madison opens later this year. To use this trip planner, a customer will be able to input station of origin, destination, time of travel, and day of the week, and the planner will suggest itineraries and transfer opportunities. Okay. That's enough about Grand Central Madison for the time being. On June 15th, the Long Island Railroad announced the opening of the newly renovated New Hyde Park Station, which is another step towards the completion of the $2.5 billion third track project. 3 ramps and a pedestrian overpass were constructed at New Hyde Park, 2 ramps to each platform at the South 12th Street underpass, and 7 new ADA parking spaces. In addition to the upgrading and renewal of station elements, 3 railroad crossings near the station were eliminated at New Hyde Park Road, South 12th Street, and Covert Avenue. Before the elimination of these grade crossings, gates were in the down position 32 to 42% of the time during the AM and PM peak periods, respectively, leading to traffic jams and adverse effects on surrounding communities from idling vehicles. These are 3 of the 8 grade crossings that had been eliminated as part of the third track project. And the need to eliminate these grade crossings had been illustrated by 6 fatal collisions at grade crossing locations on the main line corridor between 2007 and 2017. A little bit more about the Belmont Stakes, which was a great ridership weekend for the Long Island. We provided extra trains to and from Belmont Park for the 154th running of the Belmont Stakes. 18 eastbound trains were provided between 9:37 a.m. and 4:26. These trains departed from Penn Station and stopped at Jamaica for travelers coming from Brooklyn, Woodside, and stations on Long Island to connect, and then operated direct to Belmont. Immediately following the race and continuing until Belmont Park closed, return trains departed approximately every 15 minutes. We were thrilled to be part of the 22 Belmont Stakes, as public transit continues to be the best and cheapest way to get to Belmont Park. Horse racing fans were able to avoid the jam-packed summer roads and high gas prices to get to Belmont Park. Horse racing fans were able to avoid the jam. I read that already. Moving right along. Metro North News. On July 10th, effective July 10th, schedules will change on the Hudson, Harlem, and New Haven lines. The July 10th schedule reflects our partnership with Connecticut's Department of Transportation to make significant infrastructure improvements on the Waterbury branch and increase train frequencies from 15 to 22 weekday trains, along with associated service improvements on the New Haven main line. This partnership also features a pilot project for 13 new round-trip express trains between New Haven and Grand Central Terminal. Hudson Line customers will see 2 new peak trains in the evening designed to fill an existing 3-hour gap in limited stop service on the lower Hudson zone, as well as an additional stop at Yankees East 153rd Street Station on an outbound rush hour train. On weekends, 3 half-hourly GCT Poughkeepsie round-trip trains are suspended until late September to provide track access time for crucial infrastructure work in the Bronx between Yankees East 153rd Street Station and Spuyten Duyvil. GCT Poughkeepsie service will continue to operate all day. The Harlem line will see 1 new reverse peak morning train from GCT to North White Plains. On the New Haven line, in addition to the Waterbury branch and express train improvements, customers will see 2 morning Stanford locals split into separate zone trains to provide a faster ride for outer station customers and additional capacity for all riders. 2 reverse peak trains are restored from Harrison to GCT. The first eastbound reverse peak train of the morning from Bridgeport to New Haven is extended to originate in Stanford, which will provide a new early morning ride for them from that residential and commercial hub to businesses. Numerous trains on all 3 lines have minor scheduling adjustments to accommodate way ahead moving forward infrastructure projects and the additional train frequencies. And customers should check the Train Time app, website, and posted schedules for specific times at their stations. Finally, on Metro North News, I would like to highlight the retirement of John Longobardi, who joins us here today, who's standing in for Justin. John is Metro North's Chief Transportation Officer. He joined Metro-North in 1992, beginning his career as a signal maintainer, but he quickly worked his way up the ranks to locomotive engineer, road foreman, train master, district superintendent, line superintendent, and deputy chief transportation officer in charge of field operations. In 2019, John was promoted to chief transportation officer. He has navigated the transportation department through the enormous challenges that we faced during the pandemic while continuing to maintain safe and reliable service for our customers. So John, until very recently, presided over the daily 1 p.m. Service meeting, which is Monday through Friday, and on Mondays it's actually 3 days. But basically what we do every day is go through the log of all the events that happened the previous day. And this could be a trespasser strike, it could be striking a bear. We hit a bear last week. It could be an unattended package. It could be a door problem. And John goes through every single thing on the log every single day and holds the departments accountable, but through it with humor, with experience, with respect, and with the dignity that comes with 30 years of railroad service. So I wish John nothing but the best as he undertakes this new stage in his life. He has been a joy and a pleasure to work with, and we wish him nothing but the very best.
Thank you very much, Kathy. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to miss my railroad family and the true group of professionals that I've had the privilege working with over these past 30 years. So thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so moving right along, because I know this has been quite lengthy. In partnership with the People Organization, both railroads held job fairs in June. Interested parties were required to submit resumes ahead of time, and candidates were invited to the fairs to learn more about our positions featured at these events. Candidate turnout was fantastic, and we look forward to holding more events like this in the future. On June 9th, both railroads participated in partnership with MTA Police at 8 railroad crossings in the Hudson Valley, Long Island, and Connecticut on ILCAD, which is International Level Crossing Awareness Day. These activities are part of the railroad safety programs known as TRACS. We staffed crossings in Oceandale, Island Park, Syosset, Hewlett, and Central Islip. Metro-North and MTA Police staffed crossings in Peekskill, Katona, and Norwalk with support from the Connecticut Department of Transportation and the FRA. Teams distributed grade crossing safety brochures and materials to drivers at these crossings during the busier commuter hours. Next slide. Progressive Railroading recently announced this year's winners of the Rising Stars Awards. This annual award recognizes 25 people nationwide under the age of 40 who make a positive impact on the company and are viewed as up-and-coming leaders in the rail industry. There were over 140 nominations and months-long selection process, and I'm proud to announce that both railroads have rising stars, Jacqueline Martinez of Metro-North Railroad and Nicholas Spidoletta of Long Island Railroad. They were both selected, so I'm very proud that they were both part of this program. Finally, believe it or not, I am not done. There is an information item this month for Way Ahead, but I've already talked a lot about that stuff, so we're going to rip right through the Way Ahead update. There's a larger PowerPoint that's in your book for information. So slide 18, guided by the initiatives of Way Ahead moving forward, which we launched in June 2021, Metro-North continues to focus on initiatives which support our ridership and economic recovery and the region's recovery from the pandemic. This program focuses on 3 priorities: our customers, our people, and our infrastructure. And our work in these areas has been guided by the 3 principles we articulated: safety, integrity, and innovation, focusing on the changing needs of our railroad and region as we recover from the pandemic. This plan aligns with Chair Lieber's 7 strategic priorities, including a focus on recovery, rebuilding ridership, renewing and enhancing infrastructure, and the customer experience. In response to customer feedback and growing demand, Metro-North implemented a new schedule at the end of March, adding 66 more weekday trains on our 3 East of Hudson lines, bringing our weekday service to 89% of pre-pandemic levels, and restoring pre-pandemic express trains at several stations. These additions were very well received by our customers and have helped support some of the ridership growth that we've been discussing. It's very encouraging to see ridership recovery gaining strength as our customers respond to increased peak and off-peak service and to new fare initiatives like the flexible 20-trip tickets, discounted monthly tickets, expanded city ticket and MTA away deals, events, and escapes. We've always drawn ridership at Metro-North by offering zoned express trains until well in the evening, and when we restored some of these trains, we made the evening pattern more attractive to people who are remaining in the city to work late, have dinner, or attend sporting events. We continue to promote safety and respect with a continued focus on enhancing customer safety programs such as slip, trip, and fall prevention, suicide prevention, and increasing in-person community safety education outreach through TRACS programming. Finally, Metro North and the People organization are continuously looking at ways to attract, hire, promote, and retain employees in critical positions. You can find this presentation in the book and the full plan online at new.mta.info /MNR, hyphen way ahead. This is, thank heavens, the end of my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Glucksman?
Yes, very interesting. Two questions.
Yes, sir.
The planning tool for the Grand Central East Side access,
Yeah.
that's going to be updated because
Of
very
course,
likely
yeah.
there will be people giving feedback.
Yes,
that-
of course, yeah.
Which, as we've heard
Of
today.
course, yes.
So what percentage are we going to be at on July 10th with each of the lines? Because I didn't see that.
Yes, so we're at 89% now. It's
Right.
going to bring us to the low 90s.
Thank you.
Commissioner Valdeva?
Hi, Kathy. So first, I'm really excited to see the way ahead, moving forward plan years after you've developed it. So it's really great to see the progress that you've made. So thank you so much for that. And all of the fare initiatives, it really shows how, you're really trying to bring commuters back and passengers back for leisure travel, and that's really great. Two questions. So I think in the public comments, we heard a little bit about pride and maybe overcrowding. I just wanted to get a sense of, how you deem certain events to be, and I'm sure Pride was one of those events, to deploy extra trains or to deploy extra service. So just wanted to understand a little bit of that.
Sure. I mean, and Rob can sort of chime in. I mean, typically it's just done based upon experience, right? I mean, we'll look at counts, we'll look at what trains were crowded, and we'll do better. So, we with respect to days before holidays, getaway days, we tend to, add service, tweak service to be able to respond to the demand that we're seeing. So this is, an event where, going forward, we will look at the ridership counts from this past weekend, see what happened, and craft service accordingly going forward. The one thing that I would say this weekend and really throughout the summer, we're really at the Long Island calling upon our customers' patience because there's just a lot of work going on every weekend as we continue to work towards the third track program coming on at the end of this year. But to the extent that we have ridership demands for special events, we absolutely look at those events and see what we need to do from a service perspective.
Okay, that's great, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, President Rinaldi, sorry.
Yeah.
Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, I had a question regarding open positions here, really, and it shows in your chart that in Metro North, at least, the transportation and customer service had higher than expected attrition rates. So what about those two areas drove? I mean, there should be high attrition now anyway, but what in specifically in Metro North drove those particular titles to leave at such a rate?
So there's a couple things that we're dealing with respect to attrition. I mean, some of it is retirements, which we've been talking about for a while. Because Metro North came into existence, on a particular date in 2013, we did a lot of hiring. Not 2013, I'm sorry, 1983. We did a lot of hiring in the late 80s, early 90s, and people like John are reaching their 30 years on the railroad. So, we do have a lot of people retiring. So we've been focused, as you know, because we've been talking about this at, board meetings and committee meetings for the past couple of years, on, targeting, hard-to-fill positions. So we have, on the transportation side, we have, a number of conductor classes going before the end of the year. We've done outreach to try to, get as many people in. We're trying to be more innovative with respect to how we hold these job fairs. One of the things that we've heard with respect to certain crafts is that it's burdensome if people keep having to come back or they have to take time off from their jobs to be able to come in for a job fair. So we're trying to make these a little bit more of like a one-stop shop where we do as much as possible on a single day to make it easier for people to come. We've been working very collaboratively with the People organization to come up with new ideas to be able to get as many people in as possible and get as many people through the hiring process as possible. But we're challenged by a very competitive job market. I mean, this is a very competitive job market, and we're doing the best we can to be able to sell these jobs as being steady, good jobs with excellent benefits. But it's a good job market, and it's kind of tough to be able to compete for all the talent out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Rinaldi. We'll now move on to our safety reports. Our Vice President of System Safety, Shelley Prettyman.
Good morning. So Metro North Safety Report can be found starting on page 25 of the committee book. And so for the 12-month reporting period ending April 2022, the FRA reportable customer injury rate was 1.90 per 1 million customers, which was down from 2.41 in the prior 12-month reporting period ending April 2021. So slips, trips, and falls remain the most frequent cause of injury. The FRA reportable lost time employee injury rate was 2.04 per 200,000 work hours for the current reporting period compared to 2.00 in the prior period. As we've noted in prior months, some of the working hours used to calculate that rate were estimated because of the global issue affecting the MTA timekeeping system, and the affected rates will be updated after the working hours are finalized. Metro North's second quarter safety focus week was held June 6th to 12th. During the week, managers held interactive discussions with employees on a number of safety topics, just to name a couple of this quarter's topics. That included the new worksite job safety briefing and roadway worker safety briefing forms, motor vehicle safety and warm weather safety. And our third quarter safety focus week will be in September. So President Rinaldi already spoke to you about Metro North's participation in International Level Crossing Awareness Day. So at this point, this concludes my report, and I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Being no questions, we'll move on to the Long Island Railroad Safety Report. Our Vice President of Corporate Safety, Loretta Ebbinghausen.
Good morning, everyone. So we are also reporting on the period ending April 2022, and that can be found starting on page 28 in your book. Our customer injury rate was 2.48, which is roughly 45% lower than the same period last year per million customers, which stood at 4.52. And our employee lost time injury rate increased by 11% from roughly 3.6 per 200,000 hours worked to 3.99. But as my colleague at Metro North has already indicated, those hours are subject to change, and we anticipate the rate will change with that. In addition to acknowledging the Federal Railroad Administration for their support on International Level Crossing Awareness Day, I also would like to thank our colleagues at New York State Department of Transportation, the Public Transportation Safety Board, for coming out to support us. I would also like to invite, I welcome all of our newest committee and board members and invite you to join us twice a year. We're over at Penn Station. This week will be Wednesday, June 29th, and along with our partners, MTA, New Jersey Transit, and Amtrak, we engage with customers at the West End Concourse from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., having conversations about safety and how to navigate through safely in Penn Station. So welcome everybody's participation as that, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Liz. Loretta, we'll now move on to the Metro North Police Report. Commissioner Montgomery. Chief Montgomery, excuse me.
Well, thank you, sir. All right. Your police report can be found on page 31 in your booklet. As per the last discussion that we had last month, as per the request of Mr. Zuckerman, I will be comparing the comparisons between 2019 and 2022, since the 2021 and 2020 time periods are impacted by the pandemic, and those numbers are a bit off, so we came with something a little bit more recent. Those numbers can be found in your booklet on page 40 and 41, respectively, Metro North and Long Island Railroad. I'll start with Metro North. Metro North, for the month of May, the MTA Police Department observed a decline in the major index crimes as compared to 2019. All right. Robbery decreased from 1 to 0. Grand larceny went down from 7 to 4. Felony assaults remained the same at 1 and 1. And the remaining index crimes went 0-0 across the board. The total felony index is down from 9 to 5, 2019 to 2022. Arrest for 2019 was at 34 for the month. It's now at 26. However, if it compared to 2021, it would have went up by 5 from 21 to 26. There was no hate crimes for the month of May in Metro North. Year to date, robbery is now from 2019 4 to 3 in 2022. Grand larceny is from 24 in 2019 to 22 in 2022. Grand larcenies went down 3 to 0, burglary down 5 to 4, and felony assault was the only thing that went up from 8 to 11. The overall total index crimes went from 44 down to 40. A very good month for Metro North on that. And the arrests were also 232 to 143, 2019 versus 2022. All right, the one felony assault was in White Plains where a passenger refused to wear a mask, was interdicted by the conductor who then wound up assaulting the conductor. That case got closed out by arrest. The other four are grand larcenies, Harlem, Mount Vernon East, New Haven Yard, and White Plains Station. Of those four, there's two of them with very strong leads that could lead to an arrest as well. Those are still ongoing investigations. For Metro North, we also participated in the International Crossing Day. It's the 14th International Level Crossing Awareness Day. It started back in 2009, where 50 countries partook in the annual event. Its purposes, of course, was technology, enforcement, and community outreach. As far as the enforcement efforts, we were present with Metro North at those crossings to actually help and assist in distribution of pamphlets and educating the general public about the dangers of the actual crossings if not adhered to. There's also another outreach piece where it comes down to possible community outreach for suicidal prevention, which is also part of the International Day program as well. I'll move over to Long Island Railroad for the month of May. Saw some slight increases. Robbery increased from, also making the same comparisons, 2019 to 2022. Robbery went from 1 to 2. Felony assaults from 2 to 5. Burglary burglary up from 0 to 1. All other major index crimes showed no increases, staying at 0. Total major felonies increased from 7 to 12, or up by 5. The arrest from 2019 versus 2022, 69 down to 34. However, it would have been an increase in 21 from 30 to 34. There was one hate crime. It was in Penn Station, some rhetoric about anti-white. However, that individual was placed under arrest. For year to date, still sees that the robbery went from 4 to 8, felony assault 6 to 13, grand larceny 18 to 20, and grand larceny and burglaries were down 3 to 2 and 1 to 0 respectively. The total felony index crimes 32 to 44. The arrests for year to date, 453 in 2019 to 177 in 2022. And most of the 2019 numbers were the start off of the bail reform, which has now been more codified in 2022. Actually, we're still coming back from the pandemic on those numbers as well. Of the robberies, 2 robberies, Babylon and Hicksville Station. One of them is still active. The other one has been closed out by arrest, although the other robbery that's listed at Babylon is still actively being pursued. There's some leads into that may actually lead to a positive outcome for us. There's also last month a reported robbery at Patchogue Station. That incident has now been closed out with the individual being placed under arrest for filing a false report. 5 felony assaults. Of the 5 felony assaults, there's only one case closed out with the complainant being uncooperative. The remaining 4 felony assaults have all been closed out by arrest. Grand larcenies, 4 of those. One of those is closed out by arrest. The second one is pending arrest, and there's 2 others that are still actively being pursued. Of the arrest, I've given you 11 index crimes that were being pursued for this month. Being pursued this month from last month. Of the 11, 7 of the 11 have been closed out by arrest. 3 of them still currently under investigation, with 1 being uncooperative complainant, or 64% closed out by arrest. Overall, very good work week as far as closing out by arrest. Although the numbers were slightly high for Long Island Railroad, they're all being closed out by arrest. All right, we also participated in our community engagement at Queens Village with the Long Island Railroad on June 15th, approximately 1,600 hours. Detail, in my opinion, was very successful. Our tracks department handed out giveaway masks, antibacterial hand wipes, safety coloring books for the children, and of course other stuff for the children as well as they got off from there. We made 220 commuter contacts during that time period. Our tracks officers educated commuters about the safety of train travel and train crossings, also in conjunction with the International Crossing Day. Overall, very good outcome. And finally, the last piece of it, also in June, taking place out in the Hamptons, Mastic Shirley area. The Suffolk County Police Department was engaging in an incident that took place off property of a homicide that took place in Mastic Shirley. Our officers, having the information, responded over to the Mastic Shirley station armed with the information that the Suffolk County Police Department provide. We actually was able to locate and place the individual into custody that was wanted for a homicide as he was awaiting a train to go back towards Brooklyn. So overall, a very good cooperation between us and the Suffolk County Police Department in efforts to keep not only the general public safe, but our riding public as well. With that, I'll take any other questions you may have.
Chief, hi.
Good morning, sir.
Two questions. Recruitment and putting on more men and women. Where do we stand?
Actuality, we're still actively recruiting officers. I just finished going to Gun and Shield Day just a couple of days ago in reference to our next set of recruits that have just graduating from the police academy over at the NYPD. Their graduation is due out July 1st, so I'll be very happy to actually attend that ceremony to see them. But we currently still have another class of rollovers that will be coming in within the next couple of weeks as well. So the influx of people coming into the department is still going up high. I did note there was a lot of women in this last class here, so as far as diversity purposes, we're very happy to increase the diversity level as far as our police officers are concerned.
Great, that's good. And let me make a note to all of our members, including our president. Very important that we keep good relations with all of the departments, Nassau, Suffolk, and all of the departments upstate as well, including the New York State Police. That's very, very crucial. I wouldn't want to see that in any form or fashion be hurt. We have, as ridership increases, I hope we can decrease crime.
Commissioner Zuckerman?
Thank you. Chief, first a humorous question. Is there a maximum age for recruiting police officers?
Actually,
no, I'm speaking of what my previous speaker. No, I was just kidding around. I was just joking. Anyway, third maybe for David.
I think Nassau County, it's 35,
Oh,
36.
all right. Well, then, David,
But,
you just missed it.
However, we do make room for military service
Yes.
as well.
Oh,
so.
well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could have my third career then. Okay. All right. Anyway, so thank you for putting the stats from 2019. I appreciate that. I did watch Night Court, Law and Order, and NYPD Blue, but I must admit I don't remember the definition of felony assault. Can you just remind us what that criteria is for felony assault?
Yes, physical injury, keep in mind it is a regular type of assault, but it's tied to another felony that takes place. So certain offenses like assaulting a police officer, which in its own right could be a felony, but also another assault attached to it. Ergo, I commit a robbery. And while in the process of committing that robbery, I also wind up injuring the perp. That too is also a felonious assault as well. So we have some that stand alone by themselves by statute, others that are tied to other felonies.
So I'm just one more time then. So I get that it's tied to another felony you do, but let's just say it wasn't tied to a robbery. Then what is the level that makes it a felony assault as opposed to
a serious physical injury will do that as well, or also physical injury with a weapon.
Oh, all right, I got it. All right, thank you. And then what is an index crime? You used that term a number of times. What does that phrase mean?
Yes, it's the FBI establishes of major felony index crimes of which all police departments across the country are measured by. We use those same 7 major felony index crimes, your grand larcenies, your robberies, your felony assault, your homicides.
So you're saying this list of murder through grand larceny are called index crimes?
They're called index crimes for purposes of measuring them with other departments.
Okay, so you're just talking about these categories. There's
Yes.
not something else. Okay,
No.
I'm sorry. I just, again, when I watched those TV shows as a kid, wasn't clear to teaching me those terms.
No.
Thank you.
If you had any other questions on that, I'll be happy
No, I
to answer.
think that's it.
after.
Although I will say, look, thank you. The 19 numbers do help. Look, it showed that basically we're kind of at the level. I'm not suggesting it can't be better, as Mr. Mack said. We all want to have less, but we are sort of operating in an environment. Not that we're at full ridership, certainly not, but we're in an up tempo that's reflective of 19 and not really reflective of the pandemic. And I think that's if not a good news story, it is a returning story to more normalcy. Thank you.
Commissioner Glucksman.
Thank you, Chief, for your report. The 2019, the comparison to current, the felony assault 60%. Is there a breakdown for the number for customers and employees and police?
Well, yeah, that's still a mixture. However, I can work on getting you that information. I don't have that one present with me, but yeah, there is some differences between employees, police officers, and our customers.
Who are most vulnerable, the employees or the customers?
Let's put it this way. It looks like everyone's about most vulnerable right now, so I wouldn't try to classify any one particular person. Besides, I think you wind up getting in trouble doing that. Somehow I could see it. I say one thing and then
That's
next
fine.
month it flips. So rather than do
Gotcha.
that, I'll say everyone is just as vulnerable as, well, I don't want to say vulnerable, but I want to say everyone is still subject to the possibilities. They should also pay particular attention to their surroundings.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Fleischer,
I'm sorry.
after Atkins.
We got a one-way view here. Well, first of all, these are very small numbers, so it's hard to read too much into them. And I credit Neil for asking for the 2019 data. Maybe we learned something from it, maybe we don't. But when you look at those numbers, Metro North, it appears we're in much better shape safety-wise than we were in 2019. And if you look at Long Island Railroad, it would appear the opposite. So what do you explain? How do you explain the schism between, that's not the right word, I should do a better word than that. Anyway, the split between the two statistics, that Metro North, it appears to be getting better, Long Island, it appears to be getting worse. Such small numbers, maybe next month they reverse, but you got a theory on that?
I won't go into a theory only because it's asking me to know what was in the mind of the criminal who actually committed the offense. However, as I made note with Long Island Railroad, the mass majority of the index crimes that did surface are all being closed out by arrest. So I would rather like to reflect on the good work of our officers and detectives who quickly interceded, and as you can see from the mass majority of them, they have closed out with arrest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any railroad information items?
There are 2 information items for each railroad. For Metro North, there's the Progress on the Way Ahead strategic plan, which we've already discussed. The full presentation is in the book. And there's the Diversity and EEO report for the first quarter 2022, which will be discussed later this morning at the Diversity Committee meeting. For the Long Island, there is the Summer Track Work Program, which is also in the book, as well as, again, the Diversity and EEO report, which will be discussed at this morning's Diversity Committee meeting. But we're obviously happy to answer any questions on either of those information items.
And there are no procurements this month. We'll now go to the railroad monthly reports.
Mr. Fleischer, I'm sorry. I need to apologize and make a correction, and thanks to Mr. Zuckerman. It turns out we do have quorum today.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, we'll vote on the minutes.
Yep. Do you want to do that right now?
We'll do it right now.
Because we're almost done.
Commissioner Glucksman. Yeah. All in favor? Thank you.
All right. Okay, so for the monthly reports for both railroads operations, performance metrics, finance, and ridership, as well as the EEO executive summary, are included in the agenda book, and we are available to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Glucksman. Thank you.